Include a friend today. That's what we're talking about, the spirit of one, the power of many, the power of one, the spirit of many. There'll be a moment in our talk where we're going to get to experience that. What that is all the centers in Center of Spiritual Living today are involved in an activity of spreading the truth teaching that we believe in with others, either by inviting a friend to come to service or to sharing an idea with a friend. And there's going to be a moment within the service that I'm going to invite you to share an idea with a friend. So those of you with smartphones and fast fingers that do the texting or quick clicking that can take the picture and post it up to someplace, stand by for that. That will be showing up a little bit later in the show. Because you know what? It is. And that's what we try. It's people, and a lot of ministers kind of go away from that and say, no, it's not a show. You know what? It is a show. We're showing spirit, and we're showing it in a way that excites you and lifts you up. That's my mission and my goal on every Sunday, and that's what the service teams are all about. That's what the music is all about. That's why we do the production values. We have the lights, we have the screens, because we want to show you spirit in a way that lifts you up and excites you. Yes, it's a worship service. Yes, it's a celebration service. But if it weren't fun and enjoyable and pretty and stuff, would you come? No, it's a show. So I'm just trying to keep it real, 100%. It's a new year. My life is dedicated to truth. Now, if you want something more and you want to go even deeper than the joyful celebration that we have, take the classes, because the classes will take you to a whole new level of understanding what this teaching is all about. And the January, in a lot of the centers, this one included, we open up the teaching by going back to the basics. So we're going to do the first 4 chapters in the textbook. And I don't know if do many of you, have I told my story of how science of mind came into my life? See, I had this, what they call a numinous experience. I had this tremendous fascination with spirit when I was about 19 years old. Something happened where I just was telling people all around, you know what? You need to believe it. Whatever your it is, you need to believe it. Everybody's got an it. What's your it? What's your it? What's your it? Whatever your it is, you need to believe it with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, talent. I was telling everybody. I was like one of those guys on the corner with a megaphone. And my friends were like, please, Steve, stop. And I couldn't stop with the it. And one night we were going out, and we were going to go out on a party, and my friends were saying, look, we could really have a good time tonight if you just kind of with the it. And I was like, okay. And I stopped. I didn't talk about it again for the next 30 some odd years. I'd never said another thing about it. And then when things changed for me at CBS and I found myself really down in the dumps because I needed to be the television weatherman because that's who I was, and I didn't know who I was because I was like an American male and my job was who I was. Well, suddenly I didn't have a job, so who was I? And my friends were really concerned about me. My mother was concerned about me. By the way, she's doing much better. She was trying to snap her fingers yesterday and bouncing her head to the sound of the music. She wasn't doing it in beat, but her head was in beat, so it was like, yeah, all right, that's partly good. And then my aunt, my favorite aunt, who, oh, wow, this is interesting. I have her poem in the talk today. Okay, so she was also concerned about me. Another really good friend was concerned about me because I was so depressed. And one of them said, Mariette Hartley, she said, you should come with me to my church. I think you might like it. Turned out to be North Hollywood Church of Religious Science, Mark Vieira. Then I went up to see my mom in Oakland, and she says, I've been so worried about you. I think you might need a spiritual solution. You should come to my church. You might like it. East Bay Church with Eloise Oliver, Religious Science. Again, right? Then I came home, and my Aunt Helen, who I used to meet every Tuesday, we'd go to Redondo Pier and sit out and watch the ocean and look for whales and stuff like that. And she said, Steve, you're so sad. You should come to church with me. Plus, your uncle's the choir director, and I get tired of sitting by myself. You might like it. Founders. Within 6 weeks, I'd gone to 3 religious science churches, so I bought the book. And I opened it up. The thing itself, what it does, how it works, and how to use it. It. I was like, oh my God, it people! My tribe. And like Ernest Holmes says that reading Emerson was like drinking water. Reading Holmes for me was like drinking water. I actually understood the textbook the first time. Right out of the box, I got it. I was like, wow. And I just dove deep, and next thing you know, here I am. All right? So So that's my story of the science of mind. And so I love the idea of the thing itself. But I hate to be like everybody else. So it's describe it to know it. Describe it, the thing itself, to know it, the thing itself. That's where we're going today. We're going to talk about this thing called God. Where's God? Who's God? What's God? Yeah, what does God have to do with it? Everything. Nosy fella, busybody woman. The thing itself is in everything. It is the thing itself. I love the story of the two little boys. You probably know the two little boys. They were like really bad little boys, and the mother was just like, what am I going to do with them? And she gets the idea of taking them to the local priest because he was good with the little boys. And he took the boys and he separated them. And one was in the outer cove, and the other one was in the priest's office. And the priest says to the boy, "Where's God?" And the little boy's like, "I said, where's God?" And the boy's like, "Tell me, where's God?" The little boy jumps up, he runs out, he gets his brother, they run home, he says, "Where are we going?" "I don't know, somewhere, because God's missing and they think we took him." But we know. Y'all hadn't heard that story? It's like old, it's so old. I was like, almost didn't want to tell it because it was such an old story. Isn't it cute though? Yeah. But in Science of Mind, we know. We know. Our teaching tells us where God is. Everywhere, so much everywhere that it's within. It's within the very center of our being. On the front page of the Science of Mind textbook, Dr. Holmes talks about the blending of science and religion, and that there will come a time when the two will come together and we will understand them. And we are in that time. Andrew Newberg and Mark Waldman wrote a lot of books and research on how we get to know God. And what they have discovered, these are a psychologist and a neurologist, and what they have discovered through their tests with another guy named Edward de Kiel, who's passed away now, they did all kinds of research, and they found that there is something in the brain which is designed to have this spiritual experience. They did a research with monks, Benedictine monks, and Buddhist monks and nuns in meditation. And they found that in meditation, the same area of the brain in all three groups would light up during meditation, during deep prayer, during healing moments. This area of the brain lights up. When people contemplate God, there's a certain area of the brain that lights up. Their theory is that that part of the brain is designed to have the spiritual experience. Something within us is designed to have the experience of that which resides within us from a metaphysical perspective. So God is everywhere present. We have a desire to know. An unconscious search is going on. In every civilization on the planet has come up with some kind of a creation story that is very similar to either the Adam and Eve story or the Genesis story, one or two, whichever one you want to look at. You know, there's two, right? Genesis stories. A woman named Georgiana Tree West wrote a lot about Jesus. She was one of the New Thought writers from the Unity Church. And she said, Jesus said God is love. So in his description of God as love, Jesus ascribed to him omnipresence and omnipotence. Omnipresence, everywhere present, right? Omnipotent, all-powerful. That from which all proceeds. This is the thing itself that we are talking about. This thing itself that we all have access to because that thing resides within our very soul and our spirit. We have so many words we use to describe it. The absolute, spirit, God, the first cause, since it's all that proceeds from it, all-powerful, intelligence, consciousness, which is one of my favorites to use to describe spirit. But in the describing, it's really just a doorway that gets us to the knowing of it. Thomas Merton, love Thomas Merton. And he talks about a fish trap has a purpose of catching fish. Once you've caught the fish, you don't care about the trap anymore. A rabbit snare has the purpose of catching the rabbit. Once you've snared the rabbit, you don't need the snare anymore. words allow us to have an idea. They really just describe ideas, these things that are happening in our brain. Once we've assigned a word to the idea and we capture the idea, the word is not necessary anymore. So as we enter into our experience of the thing itself, as we come to know it, as we have finished up describing it for ourselves using these words, spirit, mind, the absolute, first cause, God, potato. Once we've got those words, then we can get the feeling. We can forget the word and just stick with the feeling, stick with the idea, stick with what it is that we know that resides within us. Dr. Holmes says, the mind which we discover within us is the mind that governs everything. This is the thing itself. And we should recognize its simplicity. What a sweet idea. We should recognize its simplicity. We try to make it so difficult and so hard and so challenging, but it's very, very simple. And the great simple thing is where it's located, right here in us. We don't have to go searching that far for it. It's right here, and it governs everything. The mind that is individualized as us is that very thing that expresses at everything in the universe. So once we have described it and given it a word and had a taste of it, had a feeling of it, then the joy begins. And the joy is what we do each week. That's part of the show, is we come to know it, to feel it, to have a relationship with it, to sing those songs. Woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on spirit, wake up with it, to align with it. There was another parish priest in a different town who was not quite as wise as the one who tried to get the little boys to figure out where God was. And he decided that he wanted to really be close to God. And so he climbed up to the top of his steeple to listen for God. And he's like, God, I can't hear you. Where are you? God, where are you? And in his meditation, he heard, I'm down here with the people. Come down off your high horse and get down here with the people. See, it's really, really simple. We try to make it something. We got to go somewhere. I was just telling Johanna on the way in today that I really want to go to some more spiritual retreats this year and maybe do a silent retreat. Honey, do you like silent retreats? Oh, no, I don't think so. I said, well, I think I'd like to try that. She goes, okay, if you want to. But then it just dawned on me as I'm having this talk, I'm thinking, why? Why do I need to go up to the church steeple when it's down here with the people? It's down here inside of me, And that, I wasn't going to share my word, but I think it came up because my word came up as Jehovah Das. God. It's like, wow, that's a lot of God. But I think it's because I really want to have this knowing experience. I talk about it and I feel it. I have these glimpses of deep contemplation and deep alignment with God. But then it bounces me back into the human experience. And then I'm like, wait a minute, where did it go, And I don't want to have to drop acid every day like Ram Dass did. I want to get it like the Indian gurus do, I want to just feel like, I'm just bathed in this divine spirit all the time. Jehovah Das. Why not? You see, to really know it, what comes to me is got to think about it. That's what the spiritual practice is all about. I've up-leveled my spiritual practice this year already, and I'm spending more time. See, it had gotten kind of rote. I have my readings that I do, and I'd open up my book, and I'd do my reading, and I'd do my little meditation. Oop, I'm done. And it's like, wait a minute. I think I've turned it into a routine instead of a spiritual practice. So now I've cut back on the amount of reading, and I've increased the amount of time of contemplation of the Word. And I just feel the words, and I write about them, and I literally taste them, and I'm kind of eating it up and ingesting it and making it my own. And that is giving me this understanding, this feeling, this knowing. Because see, there's knowledge and power combined here. And it allows me to see it at work in all kinds of amazing and interesting ways. Yesterday, I saw God at work through Johanna. She was making soup. My God, you should see it. it was almost like she was lifted off the floor and dancing through the house and just chop, 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 chop. I was like, how do you got to cut your fingers off like that? No, chop, 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 chop. And tossing in here and tossing it there. And then the house started getting this smell going on. And then I got back to that. The mind that governs everything, the mind that was governing everything was in the simplicity of making soup. God was showing up from just having this new understanding of this unified relationship with this thing itself that we are all a part of. See, Alice Ritchie, there's another. Do we have any more of those consciousness books with the three ladies, all the ladies in the bookstore? I don't know. There's a book in the bookstore. It's like 365 days of women of the science of mind and new thought faiths doing daily reads. It's awesome. Everything is awesome. Lego movie. Anyway, Alice Ritchie is one of them, and she wrote in Divine Science Monthly. This one? What is that? Oh, did you like that, the Lego movie? No? No, okay. That's fine. You don't have to. The first essential in the happy adventure of living an affirmative life is to know what God is. That's what we're doing today, knowing what it is. And to get ourselves firmly established in this knowledge. When you're firmly established in the knowledge, even making soup is a God action. It's like a Brother Lawrence experience. I'm doing the dishes and I'm doing God. It's like lovely. It's a lovely thing. And life is a happy adventure, even in the saddest moments. I mean, my mom got stroked, and yesterday, a 30-second video of her snapping her finger off beat and bouncing her head gave me a happy adventure moment. You know? Doesn't matter where it is, it's how you reframe it. 6 months ago, another friend of mine gave me the Ram Dass movie Fierce Grace. Do you know the movie Fierce Grace? It's a documentary about Ram Dass's life after he had been stroked. He didn't say he had a stroke, he said he'd been stroked. He had been stroked by God to have a new experience of life. In this story, it's rather long, but in it, one of the stories that really just shifted everything for me. He had bought a new car, He had bought a new car just before the stroke. And he was talking about how excited he was about this new car. And he says, now, when I'm in my new car, I have two choices. I can suffer by sitting in the car and realizing I don't get to drive this. Or I can sit in the passenger seat and be chauffeured. Wow. It's all about the simple mind and the choices that we make so that we get to live the happy adventure. I ask a question. Are you having a happy adventure in life? Yep. Great. Grab your phones. Tell somebody, I'm on a happy adventure. Let me tell you about it. I'm on a happy adventure. Let me tell you about it. This is our share the power of many one moment time I was talking about. I'm on a happy adventure. Let me tell you about it. And when you tell them about it, tell them why the adventure is so happy. Because you're practicing the science of mind. If we were in an evangelical, that thing, that kind of church, we'd be talking, we'd be worried about people. I'm worried about your soul. Are you going to heaven? Well, you know what? We can live in heaven right here, right now. We don't have to worry about anybody's soul. We can get them on a happy adventure. Let's tell them about it. That's what we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. Look at the happy adventure coming through right now. So, we've described it. We got the idea. We let the idea go. We stick with the feeling. We know what we're talking about. The next thing to do is to align with this thing itself, to line up with it and to know that we are one with God, as God, from God. To see the wonder and the beauty and allow it to arise whenever we're doing whatever it is that we're doing. Because, see, we're just a wave in the ocean of God. How you going to ride the wave? Are you going to be like hanging 10? Are you going to belly board it? Or are you going to belly flop right into the ocean? Let's ride on top of the wave. Let's enjoy this thing called life. When I was sitting with my aunt, she would frequently write poetry. And this is one that that she wrote. God is, she called it. God is the spark of warmth you feel when someone smiles and says hello, whom you pass along the way, and whom, no doubt, you'll never know. God is the wind birds float upon when soaring high with easy grace, and dolphins leaping in the sea without concern for time or space. God is the purple mountaintops that seem to shimmer as you gaze, and flowers wild of every hue that the sun has set ablaze. God is a moonlit, cloudless sky on a night that's calm and clear above. A night when you can hear the stars breathe and feel an endless cloak of love. Seeing, feeling all of this, you know God is. Helen Rambo McNeil. Yeah. Was a sweet lady. Mildred Mann, another one of the women of the Unity New Thought movement, in a book called Become What You Believe, Volume 1, says, this is very important. Check this out. The kind of God you have is not necessarily the one to which you pay lip service, but the one in which you believe. We can come here every week and talk about God and be all, woo, I went to church today, I'm practicing science of mind, yada, 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 and then your life goes into the toilet, because what God are you believing in? Are you using God's name in vain? You know, thou art that I am. God's name is I am. Are you running around saying, I am sick, I am weak, I am poor, I am lonely, I am unhappy? Or are you saying, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I have potential, I overcome, I have perseverance, I'm strong? Those I ams that you're using represents the God in which you believe in, how you describe yourself, how you see the climate and the atmosphere of your life. That's your God. That's the words, that's the description, that's the container for your thing itself. See, the beauty of the thing itself is that it's so big that it allows the space for diminishment by the individualized expressions that we are. We can limit God. God cannot limit God. But God is so big and so uncaring about all of that stuff, like without ego, that it doesn't care if you walk around saying, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I'm ugly, I'm whatever, I'm boring. You want to be all that? The thing itself is happy to comply. But are you happy with that experience? What are you giving lip service to, or what are you truly believing in? Once you figure that out for yourself, align with it, know it, understand this thing itself, now it's time to start working with it. And that involves trusting the process that is life itself. Trusting that it may not happen just like that, but time keeps on going. The moment keeps on rolling on in little droplets of time and process. And each moment to the next moment to the next moment allows something more to unfold, something more to emerge. With patience, the good arrives in your life. You see, there's this calm at the center of all of us, and it's represented when you look out in nature. You see it all the time. I love the hurricane. My favorite storm. It's whirling on the outside, but in the middle, it's just as calm and clear. It understands its purpose, but at its center, it's calm, it's clear. So in those moments when life is like a hurricane, I know that that peace that passeth all understanding is within me, and I can move forward with that. Back in the 90s, there was a terrible fire at Yosemite, and we wanted to go up there and do a story on it. And something else happened that same week that we were supposed to go. So we didn't get to go the week right after the fire was put out. We had to go up there 2 weeks after the fire was put out to do a story on for Steve Rambo's Daily Planet, this environmental series that I was doing. And I get up there 2 weeks, just 2 weeks after the fire was out. And there were little green sprouts coming up through the ashes. Already pine cones had opened up, already little grasses had started to grow. Trust the process. No matter what your ash is looking like, the green will sprout up through it. align with it and work with it and know that we have this ability within us. Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker got together and wrote a book called Richer Living. And in it they say, we must not only be conscious of power, but we must be actively conscious of it. Actively conscious of it. Join with this thing itself and know that you are a part of it, and don't give it lip service. Get down with it. Start to watch it. Look for it. Expect the happy adventure, and know that you can shift your life in a New York minute or a Los Angeles minute, which I think is a little bit longer than a New York minute, unless you're sitting in traffic. Yeah. So this week, the thing itself. I invite you to be on the lookout for the thing itself. Be aware of how it's showing up in your life. When you feel it, align with it. Once you've aligned with it, begin to work with it. Because after you've described it, it's time to get to know it. And so it is. Our affirmation. Let's do it. I've come to know it, and now I'm here to use it for good in my life and the lives of others. Yes, indeed. It is prayer time. Wow, I would never have guessed that that word would have come up for me. Thank you, Maggie. John, you weren't here one week, and I played with you because you weren't here. Which side would you like to see?
Yeah, the back side.
Which looks very much like the front side. Wow. You are cool. There's sun even there. There's always light. Yes. Let's go into prayer. Now, if there is somebody in your life that you know that the condition needs to change and you want them to live that happy adventure, put them in your mind right now. If you're sitting in that space, my favorite space of just pure gratitude and joy for the life that you are living, feel the joy right now as we know this truth. That we are on a happy adventure in this thing called life that is supported by the thing itself. We have come here filled with the it, and we know how to use it. We know how to live it. We allow it to love us as we love it back. If it is too impersonal a word for you, let's go with God, Spirit, love, all-encompassing comfort and compassion and understanding, harmony and joy, right living. It all stems from the same idea that is at the center of our core. So it is from this knowing that I know each and every one of us right now collectively is riding the wave in the ocean of God, and we are landing on the shore of our good. And it is showing up as full and perfect and whole health and healing. It's showing up as right action that moves us through whatever storms or currents or turbulence is getting in the way of the peaceful, calm experience of life. It is rising up above those agitated moments with our family and friends and partners, and it's moving us into that space of harmony, compassion, and love. It is bringing souls together that allow them to walk the path of life arm in arm when they've been walking a path alone. It's bringing peace to the world. It's pulling our houses of Congress together. It's pulling the parts of the country together that feel like they're apart and taking red and blue and making this beautiful purple that is royal so that we walk into this experience of life arm in arm in a happy adventure. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to spread this love and blessing through our collective minds out into the world in concentric circles of joy and celebration. So if you're feeling this movement of spirit, if you're on board with this direction for life, in gratitude, let's release this prayer into that perfect law that is so ready to say yes, 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 and so it is.